I wanted to talk about IVF because I went through one cycle of it. Um, I didn't have the embryo implanted, but I went through all the stuff up until that point. So, because a lot of people are confused about it, like what you can do, how you go about it, blah blah blah. Um, if you are in a couple and you've been trying for, I think it's a year or 2 years, and nothing's happened, then they will refer you the doctor to have the IVF. Obviously, if you're going private, you can pretty much go when you want, but they do say, try that year or two, to see if it happens naturally. um, there's obviously things you can take to boost your fertility. um, what's it called now? Folic acid. Them tablets, they help. And the pregnant care stuffs, and obviously taking your ovulation tests. I used to take mine every single day to see when I was ovulating, but because I'd had the depot prior to that, it was difficult to get a reading of when I was ovulating. But anyway, so that's the first step, the referral. Then let's just talk about costs first, okay? So um, mine was, I think, mine was going to be, and this was the NHS, right? Because I had already had a child before and I was going through a sperm donor, mine was going to be about 3 grand, right? Um, they do offer, if you donate some of your eggs to them for other people, that it goes to half the price. But I didn't want to do that because I thought, that's my kid goes somewhere, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, it's about that. I don't know if it's gone up now, but mine was like probably 8 years ago. Anyway, so there's that. That's the pricing. But if you are a couple where you both haven't had children before, I think it's at a lower price or it's free on the NHS. So yeah, just look into that. Um, and obviously they'll test your fertility and see like what's going on, blah blah blah. And then if you're not going through a sperm bank, um, they'll get the guy to do his thing. It's harder for the woman because um, she has to have like eggs extracted from her and so on and so forth. But from what I can remember, they do the egg extraction and then they've got to send you back with injections. I think it was 2 weeks I had the injections to make your follicles follicles grow, and they want to get them to a certain amount of centimeters before they put the embryo in. So yeah. So what happened with me was I did the injections. Like, I used to be afraid of needles, but having done it at home, because it was only through the stomach, and when you pinch the fat on your stomach and you do it, you can't feel anything. It was all right. Lucky for me, the hormones weren't terrible, but they can be for some people, I guess. Anyway, so I had to keep going back, and the only problem with that is you have to make sure that your appointments are on point because everything has to be done at a certain date. So make sure you get your appointments in there first so that you don't have to start again. So yeah, I kept going back to the hospital and they were checking to see, if it gone to the correct centimeters. And I had a few that had, so that was great. Then they had to see if my egg and the donor sperm, created a good enough embryo to put back in. That's the part where it stopped because it didn't. That failed. But they do say that, you know, it takes a couple of goes to do it. Um, but I thought I'll just leave it at that. Luckily for me, because I'd had all that where, you know, they'd grow my follicles and they'd give me all these hormones and yada, 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 I was then able, when I met my husband then, to fall pregnant quite easily. So, yeah, so after that, I had another child and that was great. Um, so, yeah, that's the last part where the embryo gets put in you and you got to see if it takes. Um, Talking about the sperm donor, because a lot of people didn't understand like how that process works. So you they're anonymous people. The only thing you get told is like what job they're in, if they've had any mental problems or anything, but they're kind of screened for everything like that anyway, so you're getting like quality people. um Eye color, hair color, skin color, so kind of like I wanted the same race as my first daughter, as close as possible, so that you know they looked like siblings. There would be no questions. So you get to look at all that. You get to look at their age as well. I picked quite a young one. Um, Hopefully, you know, hoping that it would take, but obviously that didn't work. But I'm just saying, like, you know, probably the younger the better, because, or if they've had kids before, because then you know, I hope if they've had kids before, then you know, they've got good, you know. So, yeah, and you can have support groups for yourself or the children from what you've created that can talk to other kids and you know other parents, whatever, that have gone through the same thing of having a child through artificial insemination. Also, there's a letter um, that the sperm donors can give. They can wait for the child to be 18, and if they want it, they can have it. Um, or they can say, we give consent if the child wants to find us when they're older, speak to us, that's fine. But they can say, it's not fine, it just depends. So there's always them options as well. Um, so yeah, I think that's all I can say about that from what I experienced anyway. Yeah, okay, so that's it. Bye.